thank you for bearing with me as in honor of Mercury retrograde last week I determined to take the week off, which is really a misnomer because in all actuality what I was attempting to accomplish during this last week was the completion of the re-roofing of this entire dome facility home that I live in, which has taken me, off and on the last couple of months. And I wanted to finish it up finally so that I would be ready for the change of the seasons. That's one of the themes that is actually going to be part of our consideration for this week as the fall equinox arrives on the 22nd and we shift from summer into fall. But we start this week out, we have like 3 days left of the season of Virgo, where the sun is currently, waning or moving through those last 3 days of Virgo. Nothing happens in a vacuum. And Mercury is, still going retrograde and will so till the end of the month. And Venus, the ruler of Libra, the next sign, is chugging its way through the land of Virgo. So Mercury and Venus, they're in each other's signs. And so there's a focalization, we'll put it that way, of an energy signature that includes both Libra and Virgo right now, with the Sun, Venus, and Mercury all right over there. And, just to add a little spice to the mix for this week, we're also going to have the new moon on Sunday, which will be in real early degrees of Libra. So we're getting ready for the Libra season, but we're not quite there yet. We still have those last few days of Virgo to, refine in some fashion what is the most effective organization principle that I can tune into that is something I've been working on. And the due diligence of that process. With Mercury being retrograde, the ruler of Virgo, it's kind of like, while this is transpiring, there another factor that is in play is Neptune over at 23 degrees of Pisces is essentially, it's kind of in a opposition to those last portions of the Virgo dance. And trying to separate the Virgo Pisces matrix, that zone across in opposition from each other in the zodiac, wouldn't do justice to either one of the signs, Pisces or Virgo, because they represent octaves of one another. The application of, servitude, that overtly organized Virgoan context. If you remove it from the depth of being of service that Pisces represents, then one would wonder, you know, why spend so much energy, Virgo perspective, on getting things, lined up in such a unique way. Uh, where does it go? Well, the Pisces on the opposite side says, you know, I am willing. I am a sink of connective capacities to everything. I represent Pisces. I represent the melting pot wherein all those mental machinations might come together and blend with one another in the context of the creation of something new. So, Virgo, it's getting this shit together. It's really honing in on the realities of what it is that can be accomplished, and it's tying A and B together or C and X together in unique fashion to be able to formulate something. The Pisces and Neptune in the opposite side of that provides a context into a much larger field of experience where those small Virgoan type parts, vital as they are, can come to blend within the context of magic. Another version of Neptune and Pisces is illusion. That's something to really take into consideration as we draw to the end of our Virgo season. How much of those mental machinations that you've been working on might be spawned through the realm of illusion? Is it a container that holds water, or is it a sieve that is basically just collecting the harder particles of what it is that is within that water sense of reality? Anyway, just some interesting thoughts that I was having. Let's take a look and see what is it that is going on out here in Astroland. Monday, can't trust that day. Well, here's Monday, and you can kind of see lots of aspect lines going on. The one that I'm going to focus in on here is this Venus in almost exact trine to Uranus down here in Taurus. Might Venus, remember, ruler of both this Taurus and Libra, currently doing the Virgoan dance, could act as an invitation to be inclusive in what it is that our thought processes are trying to wrap themselves around of the other, of others in this exploration process. And because Uranus is involved in this trine, trines are opportunities. It's an opportunity to expand what could transpire in a moment's notice, Uranus has a sudden factor about it. It's just like, I'm going along peacefully along my way, and then all of a sudden, there's a roadblock, or there's an opportunity to see something that I hadn't seen before. And, which way? How might you, in these circumstances, make the determination as to what is the next appropriate step to take? Do I have a wall that I must go around or over in front of me? Or might there be something quite magical that has just opened up and says, pay attention to this, because if you do, maybe, just maybe, the whole idea of the wall can evaporate in front of you, and you're on with your quest. We play the dance of the planets around the zodiac. On this very same day, we got our weeks crossed there for something. The very next thing that comes across the pike, and I could go on for hours talking about all the other different aspects that are going up. I will include one more, which is one that has been forming kind of like almost as we approach the autumnal time of year. And this is the waning square formation between Saturn up here in Aquarius and Uranus down here in Taurus. You can kind of see that nice long square. There are, just a hint over a degree apart, which is, considering that these are kind of far away or outer type planets, the signature that they represent with that square, meaning some form of tension is in the air between Aquarius and Taurus. Well, they're 90 degrees from each other, so in one sense you could always say there is a version of tension that can exist between these two signs. They're both fixed signs. There's a tendency to have structures or a strictness to what it is that each of them represents that is not easily dissuaded from what it is that they want to accomplish. And, they're not to be swayed easily away from that, direction that they are headed. Saturn, life lessons, the wise elder, integrity. In Aquarius, the opportunity for innovation is present. Uranus, which has, an affinity for that Aquarian archetype, has, it can disrupt things rather abruptly, but the reason that it does so is to awaken us to opportunity that we may not have perceived or easily perceived if we had continued along a particular fixed direction that we were headed in, and the Uranus shakes things enough to be able to get us off kilter, get your balance a little off so you have a different perspective. All of a sudden you go, oh, why didn't I see that before? Well, it's because, your fixed intent on doing something in just such a fashion, didn't allow you to see it. So this square between Saturn and Uranus, this is the last of this waning square between these two planets, which has been basically in play for a couple of years. Uh, Speaking to the Taurus Aquarius uh, fixed dance that's been going on. And they will get closer than 1 degree apart, but not much more than that. And that will be probably the closest time is from the beginning of October till almost the middle of October, where they're within a degree of each other's orbs, which will intensify that potential for how best might I pay attention to being innovative enough with that Aquarius Saturn life lesson that I might be able to see something that is spawned down there in the realm of, Taurus. What what does Mother Earth, Taurus, have to say to me in this moment that I can allow to spin the tale of what I might invent that could be perhaps just a little more useful to that effective, most effective dance between humanity and this earth plane that we live on to facilitate further growth on both contexts, both from the ability of Earth to regenerate itself and the ability of humanity to see its function in that process. This is fairly significant consideration. Anyway, that's Monday. Actually, Monday is just a time slot in the dance of the unfolding of life. The next thing is, I said Libra is coming. Well, here we come. Thursday, Libra. The transition from Virgo to Libra in the matrix of the zodiacal dance is not to be taken lightly. If you consider the whole chart, see my cursor flashing, everything below this horizon is an experiential development of what does it mean to be a self. What are all the machinations that one has to go through in the investigation of how do I discover all these parts of who I am. Everything above this horizon, this is the realm of the collective. So what transpires at this line between Virgo and Libra is self meets other. And there is no guarantee that the self that has been developed in this investigation of who one is actually going to automatically be in sync with others who have equally gone through this same explorative process, but may have perceived themselves in a different fashion. Still a self, but a self spawned from different resources that were overtly appropriate to them, which, maybe we in the enlightened process that we have been through did not perceive at all. And so the interaction of being one with being two that happens in the realm of partnership or Libra is going to require a consideration for where is the balance? The symbol for Libra, those scales. Where can we find balance between our two either mildly or significantly different takes on what it means to be a self? It's kind of like a note. Meets another note. And you can kind of see there's something that transpired when that note meets a note. And what can happen is you get different versions of the note that show up. You can almost feel a kind of a, is there a tension potential in there? Yes, there is. Because depending on how, set one is in their ways, that confrontation that will take place between you and another whose perspectives will likely have variations upon the theme of life, may or may not easily blend with one another in the process of inventing something new. And I think that's critical to keep in mind that, yes, I have a perspective on the way things should flow in order to make me happy or happier. Other people have their perspectives on what that entails as well. And yet, if with willingness a conversation can be struck up and developed betwixt and between us to compare notes, it's highly, highly likely that each of us is going to come out of that conversational process with a different perspective than we went into it with. We are not going to be the same, which, that is absolutely the purpose of the experience of living. Remaining the same, stuck in your ways, unable to change, that gets old. Not necessarily just on you, but on the people around you. Oh, Jeff says this thing. He's always talking about this thing. He's got, well, can I, Jeff, have the willingness to alleviate that kind of tension that might exist between me and another person, to be willing to listen to one another in an open enough fashion that discovery is on the table. And it's not just a repetition of same old ad nauseum. Some terms that Libra brings to the table, I think would be handy for us to, hold on to as we investigate that process of engaging with the other. the artist, the diplomat, the peacemaker, lover, lawmaker, decorator, and host. The artist, able to, take a medium and spin it in unique fashion to come up with a piece of art, a piece of music. That is art as well. And be able to include as much as possible influences of others in the mix so that there's an invitation for participation to transpire. This is the realm of Libra partnership at work. On this very same day, Thursday of this week, as the sun shifts into Libra, there's a conjoining with Mercury, which is moving backwards through Libra, right there at 0 degrees of Libra. The very beginning of this Libra season, the Fall Equinox. Some factors to keep in mind is that the shift of seasons. Here in the north, we are coming out of that overtly productive summer season. It's harvest season. That is what the fall is about. Going into the field and harvesting all the creations that have grown through our loving care, or just basically the fact that growth takes place in the summer months so predominantly. And utilizing it in an effective way, storing what we need in order to successfully survive through the winter. That is one thing that comes onto the table as fall season comes in. We're harvesting that which has been provided for us. Whoa. I'm just looking at the Sabian symbol from Dane Rogers and Astrological Mandala for 0 degrees of Libra. And it says, in a collection of perfect specimens of many biological forms, a butterfly displays the beauty of its wings, its body impaled by a dart. Then the keynote, the immortal archetypal reality that a perfect and dedicated life reveals. That's something to, and he wrote like another 2 pages of further delineation of that particular degree of the zodiac. And rightly so, because it is the degree opposing 0 degrees of Aries, which is that impulsive initiation of the vitality of life, erupting forth, ready to conquer everything. And Libra is, we meet another, and somehow that Aryan eruptive energy of self is either to be altered by another who likely has a similar archetypal drive, but in a different direction. That Sabian symbol of theoretical perfection that has been impaled by the dart in some collection. It can mean something, but my gut tells me it stops a vitality process of the unfolding experience of what life is about. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's not alive anymore, though. It doesn't have the context of engagement with anything else. It has been, curtailed from that investigative process to such an extent that it will remain stuck in a zone where the only change that's going to transpire is that eventually decay will set in. That's a guarantee. Which is not a negative, because everything eventually reaches that state wherein the vitality, the drive of life itself no longer animates the physical form. And the call from Mother Earth to reclaim its parts. That's right. Everything in the physical realm that exists is made up of parts of this Mother Earth. That is the physical. And it lasts for a certain amount of time, varying depending on your version or its version of time cycles. But the call comes. Return home. It's time to reintegrate your parts so that something new can be made, utilizing those same physical elements put together in unique fashion to formulate a brand new beginning. We might keep that in mind, quite particularly as we advance in and through the Libra season, as we encounter, engage, and exchange experiences with others, so that we don't become stuck in our ways, but we use that Libra cardinal energy to start something. That is the essence of the cardinal signs, Aries and Libra, Cancer and Capricorn. Initiate. Start something new. With any luck, you're ready for some new relationships. This is the land of Libra. Go for it. Be flexible. Perhaps be gentle in what it is that you perceive that others are bringing to the table, particularly if it's on such a tangential trajectory as to grate what it is that you thought life is all about. How open are you? How open am I to the new adventures that life beckons my participation in? The next day, Friday the 23rd, Mercury has now shifted back into the sign that it rules. One of the signs it rules, Virgo. But still going backwards. We're still in that zone of contemplation. I think that's a good way to put it, and maybe more so here in Virgo than it would have been in Libra, but just slightly different. We have that energy connection that I was talking about with Neptune being on this very same day, opposed to Venus. Venus, the ruler of where the sun is right now in Libra, is in Virgo. And, you know, are we capable of being able to supersede levels of potential illusion that might be on the table as we interact with others, and do we have a capacity to see that portions of this illusionary essence are likely within our own matrix as well as that of the other? Can we be humble enough to swallow our pride and learn? Listen and learn. And Virgo and Venus are working their way back together. They're going to cross paths because Virgo's going back, or Mercury's going back to 24 degrees, where it will go direct. And Venus will be well past that by then. That's Friday. Now the weekend, what does it have in store for us? Let's take a look. We've got a new moon coming. You can kind of see this very strong energy right now that's at work, that is this opposition to Neptune, opposition to to Jupiter, and trine to Pluto up here. This is a major focus that the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and the Moon, now joining this group of planetary beings, is going to allow us to feel our way through this until we get to Sunday, where the new moon transpires here at 3 degrees of Libra. New moons are always a time to set a new intention that we might attempt to accomplish during the next lunar cycle, basically from the Libra new moon to the Scorpio new moon. Looking at the Sabian symbol for that particular degree of the zodiac to give us, kind of a divination perspective on how we might take the realm of partnership, Libra, or the realm of how we artistically express ourselves, and set an aim to be inclusive enough of others in this interactive participatory energy signature that this next month is initiating at this new moon. The Sabian symbol reads, "Around a campfire, a group of young people sit in spiritual communion." The keynote: the necessity to unite with kindred spirits as one enters unbeaten paths illumined by the still, insecure light of a dawning intuition of new values. As I hear that and allow it to settle into the soul of who I am, I get the sense that if I try to be too fixed on the intention that I set at this new moon to accomplish certain things, it might actually get in the way of a creative unfolding that is going to transpire, that I need to keep the parameters of what that intention I'm setting permeable, so that I can change and alter as I go forth through this month ahead in a way that will actually reflect shared energy with others, which more often than not is going to be a growth process for each of us to, to work our way through as we each become bigger beings in what it is that we came to as souls accomplish here on planet Earth. Also on this day, we have the close forming trine Venus to Pluto and the Sun in opposition to Jupiter retrograde. Both Pluto and Jupiter are retrograde. So we can kind of see that from a Plutonic perspective, there is the requirement to allow things to pass away so that there can be the space for something new to be born. It is time to compost. From the Jupiterian perspective, proceeding back toward Pisces here near the beginning of Aries, don't think small. Jupiter never does. And there's that, that impulse, that driving impulse, which Jupiter, retrograde or not, still the largest planet in the solar system, is saying, it's not saying, hold back, not a chance. It's saying go for it, take a chance, be that investigative, explorative self that wants to discover life. And this is the sun, the focal point of all of life as we know it here on planet Earth. And Jupiter, the largest planet in the solar system, across that matrix of self and other, Aries and Libra. The investigation that we implement with others right now, it has the opportunity to go places that we cannot predict. At the same time, we must use caution not to get in the way of what it is that is going to develop as we compare notes. That's all I've got for this week. Mercury's retrograde all through this week. We have the sun shifting into Libra, the new moon at the beginning of Libra. So there's an adventure ahead for us for this next week. We're being invited to make sure that we don't write others off automatically because we've got, these ideas that say, no, nobody else is going to be able to move in these kind of directions. That's a bunch of hooey. Yeah, who is Huey? Anyway. Enjoy the adventure as we shift from Virgo into Libra. And take those overtly organized thoughts and methodology that we have put together during, you know, a substantially Mercury retrograde season with a grain of salt, knowing that they, like everything, are due to the main constant of life, and that is change. Things do not stay the same. Ciao for this week. I will be back next week, and we will see what we can see.